Friends, welcome to the stunning beauty of the sleepy town of Great Falls, Virginia. You and I are here to drive, if there ever was a sleepy version of the G30 5 Series, it would be the one fitted with a 4-cylinder engine. So you and I are going to put aside the stunning 6-cylinder 540 and drive a 4-cylinder turbocharged mid-sized BMW luxury business sedan in Virginia. I don't know about you, but I feel as of late we've been focused a bit too much on all things from Munich, specifically very fancy things from Munich. For example, we started out the year with a car didn't even say BMW on it. It was called an Alpina. Then we moved on to not one but two cars that were made out of, I'm going to say it again, carbon fiber reinforced polymer. And then most recently, we looked at V12 that translated into 601 horsepower. So I feel it high time that you and I step back and we look at something more pedestrian from the folks in North Munich. And really can't think of a better example than a 4-cylinder sedan. Now this 4-cylinder sedan, 2 liters, inline, direct injected, and turbocharged. But there are some non-pedestrian technologies about it. Now if you've watched our other Mini and BMW episodes, I know we've covered this before. Let's say it together: twin power turbo. In a 750, that means 2 turbos that are strapped to a V8 engine. But this is an inline 4. Doesn't mean 2 turbos. What this means is like a suite of technologies and air induction that, well, it makes for better output. So it's a twin scroll turbo, variable cam lift, which they call like double vanos, so they're stealing words from my people, and then variable valve timing and some other like air induction technologies. And that translates to 248 horsepower, but more important to us, 258 pound-feet of torque. And very interestingly, it comes in at 1,450 RPM. From a 4-cylinder, stays flat all the way up to 5,200 RPM. Okay, some pedestrian, some not pedestrian. Now let's find out how it works. So those of you that know this area, this is just outside of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And look at this. It's like serious country, horse farms, stunning place to drive a car. So with that, let's talk pulling power, because that's really, or in this case, it's pushing power, because this is a rear-wheel drive car. It's not the all-wheel drive model. So this is the biggest difference between the 540 that we drove and the 530 that we're in right now. So with that, let's put our foot into it in eco-auxiliary mode. And it kind of goes. Not that much, not like the same like rip your face off, oh my god, this is a 540 from back in the day of that first one that I drove. But let's try this again. Let's go around a turn here, but this time let's go to comfort mode. Let's put our foot into it. If I'm honest, I really don't feel a difference between the economy and the comfort. Not really that surprised. But then again, you and I are not here for comfort. We're here for sport mode. But you know what? There's no one around. Let's come to a complete stop here, okay? We're in sport. Bist du fertig? Ich auch. 3, 2, 1. From a dead stop, foot to the floor. This is where you can hear the 4-cylinder, but you don't feel it. You hear it. It's quick. Now, it's at this point in our discussion that we have to bring up the elephant in the room, and that is the E300. You and I drove that together, didn't love the 4-cylinder equipped version of the E-Class. This, let's put our foot into it again, clearly more power. The way that, oh my god, actually it's kind of quick. The way this thing develops power, especially on these loop-de-loop kind of roads, it's like a bit of a roller coaster. The way this thing develops power, and I've been driving it for about 5 days now, it's clearly more supple. You don't spend a lot of time focusing on the fact that what engine is in my Mercedes, or in this case, what engine is in my BMW. It just develops enough power for this size BMW. But put that aside. What's important here is how it develops power. You don't feel the vibration of a four-cylinder, and you don't hear a four-cylinder. That's what sets this apart from an E300. So something has been bothering me since I picked this car up at Dulles Airport 5 days ago, and it has something to do with that 540 that you and I drove up in Northern California, what, 6 months ago? And there's no nice way to put this. You wouldn't call the G30 5 Series a pretty car. I don't think you'd even call it attractive. That 540 to me, that was purposefully handsome. Yeah, purposeful and handsome. This, same size wheels, it's the same color as that 540 we drove. But every time I walk out to it, it doesn't even speak to me as handsome. Not ugly, but not handsome. Perhaps, I don't know, maybe I've had a diversion or two. But this, there's something missing about... Anyway, perhaps I'm crazy here, but think of this as like a bonus question. Do you find that attractive, handsome, pretty, or just ugly? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so now let's back down to that Eco Pro mode and focus on driving dynamics. So this is the same size vehicle. This specific one that we are driving is fitted with the same size wheels as that 540. So we got a nice turn here. Let's put our foot into it. Brake, 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 brake. Come around it. Turn! No dive, no pitch. A lot of lean over there. A lot of lean. Now let's go over to comfort. Put our foot into it again. And going around this turn here. A little less lean. It's not a huge difference. It really isn't, actually. It feels a little bit out of sorts here, going across this nice wooden bridge. Oh my God, this is a beautiful region of the world here. The big difference you notice between Comfort and Eco is not these roads. It's when you're driving it on the freeway. And I've spent a lot of time driving this thing around on expressways around DC, and it's a little bit more composed driving at freeway speeds. But once again, you and I are not here for comfort mode or celery mode. Back to sport mode. Now here, I'm going to give it away. This does work really well in sport mode, really well. Not quite as sharp as the 540, but the thing that you notice is where BMW is going. Follow me for a minute here. BMW has taken a lot of crap over the years. They're getting soft, and even I've told you that the driving dynamic spectrum has changed. Like, we'll go around a turn like this, it works. It feels like a BMW. It's got the sharpness to go around a road like this. You expect this. Like, remember the old school 3 Series from like back in the day in the 80s? It drove a specific way. It's in this mode that you recall that driving experience. But a lot of BMWs for the past 15 years have gotten softer, and I would argue they're doing that to sell more cars. This is like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You notice it more in this, the 530, than the 540. And you see that this is a full-on luxury car when you're in comfort or in the basic celery mode. You feel like, oh, you know what? Someone who came out of a Lexus could drive this and be happy. Where the person, you and I, who had a BMW way back in the day, we'd be happy with a sport. To the point where I would argue in sport, the 530 is dynamically sharper than the E300. I don't know if you've noticed, but since January of this year, there have been an abnormal amount of new car introductions. As a result, we've been incredibly busy here at the old show, to the point where we may have neglected some of our features that you have come to love, like the options game. Well, I'm happy to say that there will be a round of the options game with this excellent candidate for the options game. So make sure you come back for that, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a cliffhanger of that coming options game with some hints. So this 530i is not the basic 530i. It has a lot, and I mean a lot of options. Not just one driver's assistance package, 3 driver's assistance packages. Not just the usual stuff on the inside, but many dress-up packages. And I had no idea. Remember that gesture control thing that you and I have played around with in different 7 series? Well, that's standard on a 7 Series. You have to pay extra in this one. So, are you excited for the options game? So a couple of notes, and the first has nothing to do with the car. I want to see if you guys can see a deer. Yeah, he's right there. Check him out. This is one of the stunning parts about living here. He's just chilling. See him there? He's just checking out the BMW. Not even moving. He's not afraid. He's just seeing what's going on. I think what he's doing is trying to... Oh, he doesn't like the color. And blue is my favorite color. I thought I would share it with you. I guess Bambi doesn't like blue. Can't say we didn't try. Okay, so now that we got Bambi out of the way, let's focus on the notes. First is something I usually complain about, and that is the lack of a sunroof. Here, I'm not going to complain because there is a sunroof. But notice, there's no panorama sunroof on-off. But what BMW did is something very interesting. Notice the size of the opening. It's much larger than most other sunroofs fitted from the factory. And this is something that they had in the previous 5 Series and continued here. I gotta tell you, I do like this solution because it gives you almost the panoramic feel, but not the weight. I guess if I was driving a car like this, I really wouldn't be that fussed with the weight, so maybe I would want the panoramic roof. Second are the seats fitted to this specific 530. They are an option. They are pricey. And they are the same ones that are fitted to a 7 Series standard. These are the comfort seats. So bolstering on the side, the extension on the thigh support here, and then the shoulder support is adjustable. So you can move the shoulder forward or backward depending on your body frame. So ideal when you're doing a lot of freeway driving like I've been doing over the past 5 days here in the DC area. But there is one other option fitted to this specific 530, and that is the leather. And it's not like normal run-of-the-mill leather. This one is fitted with the Napa Leather, which is an additional option on top of usual leather, and it really picks up the fancy seats in that it has the diamond stitched interior. Obviously they're cooled, so they've got like the perforations, and then the pièce de résistance is the contrasting stitching that picks up the top of the dash and the doors. Now there's one very important topic that you and I have yet to cover about this derivation of the G30 5 Series, and it's the 530's total reason for being, and that is efficiency. So to frame that discussion, I need to give you a little insight of why I came here. It wasn't just business, it was also personal. So that had me going around the entire nation's capital area, so not just DC, all the way up to northern Maryland, practically southern Pennsylvania, down to Annapolis, back into DC, and then into northern Virginia, which is where we're doing all this shooting. So you can imagine that involved a lot of freeway driving, definitely traffic, some country lane driving, which was fun, and some in-town driving. But half of that time, and this is unusual for me, I loaded the car up. It was a total of 5 people, including me, in the car. So that would have an impact on efficiency. And I guess you know me by now, even though I had a grandmother in the car, I wasn't necessarily driving like a grandfather. So that would also have an impact on efficiency. But my total time here of driving this, both personal and business, I've turned 27.1 mpg. Now think about that in relation to the size of this vehicle, and that's good, right? But you and I are not here for good MPG. You and I are here for how does 27.1 mpg drive? And this is where we need to bring that E300 back into the discussion. And if you remember in that episode, I was none too excited about that derivation of the new E-Class, because when you're driving it, yeah, it's a Mercedes and there's cool stuff there, but you keep on focusing on, oh my God, this is a 4-cylinder Mercedes, and there's something not supple about the power delivery of that engine, even though others can make 4 cylinders somewhat supple. Here, you're driving a 5 Series. You aren't focusing on the fact that, oh my God, this is a 4-cylinder BMW. And therein lies the difference between the 530 and the E300, and why this stands out over the E300. So with that, I need to turn this around to you guys and leave you with a question. Thus far, you and I have driven 2 derivations of the G30 5 Series. The magical Santa Maria Madre de Dios 540, which is a 6-cylinder, and then this 4-cylinder, the 530i. So if I were to force you to choose, and you had to choose a new G35 series, it can't come up with a Lexus or a Mercedes or something else, it had to be between these two vehicles, which one would you choose? And because I am so giving, I will let you choose the 530e because we have an upcoming episode just on the 530e. But you can't choose the 550 and you can't choose the coming M5 because we haven't driven them together yet. So which one would you choose? Why would you choose it? And you know what, for good measure, what region of the world do you hail from? Let me know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV on Word, MotoManTV on Word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I want to leave you with two things. Number one, please unsubscribe from us and then resubscribe, click notifications. This is how much YouTube has screwed up the platform for all YouTubers, big and small. And number two, I want to leave you with a fun fact. And the fun fact is what you have seen behind me throughout this entire episode. You're probably wondering, why is there a brown Bentley? And yes, it's a Bentley, it is not a Rolls-Royce Corniche. Why is there a brown Bentley behind you in a BMW episode? Well, I wanted to put it there to say, or more as a preview of a coming episode, because you see, you and I are going to drive that Bentley Continental, one of only 401 ever built from the late 60s to the mid 80s. We are going to drive it in and around the beautiful town of Great Falls, Virginia. So make sure you come back for that. Until I see you next time, bis später.